Hello again and welcome back to another one. And today we have a couple of topics to cover, as today we got more that's come from Eminem's latest single Houdini that continues to exceed expectations so far. And we got some new records for Eminem over the last few hours, as Eminem just became the biggest rapper in the world on Spotify thanks to the release of Houdini that saw the rapper gain an additional 13 million plus monthly listeners since the song released, and we'll expand on this in a bit, as we also got a new record for Eminem when it comes to the fastest hip-hop songs to cross the 100 million threshold on Spotify. And we also got to hear from Jelly Roll, who performed Sing for the Moment with Eminem a few days ago, as he shared the backstory of how this came about, and he made some comments that's bound to ruffle some feathers, as you'd see in a bit. And today we also have one that came out of left field when Jay-Z opened for Tom Brady's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And boy, this has got thousands of hip-hop fans fuming at the moment, and we'll expand on this in a bit, as we also got word from Dame Dash, who faced backlash a few days ago for some comments he made about Jay-Z. And Dame spoke about being accused of always talking about Jay-Z in interviews, and we'll expand on this momentarily. And starting with the latest on Eminem's Houdini, it is a couple of new milestones for Eminem, as Houdini recently set the career record for Eminem on Spotify. Check it out. Houdini has now surpassed 100 million streams on Spotify in just 13 days. It is Eminem's fastest song to achieve this and his 99th overall. And here's what this means for hip-hop music on Spotify, as this is certainly an aftermath takeover in 2024. Check it out. Fastest rap songs to reach 100 million streams on Spotify by days. And for a fact, if you told anyone at the start of the year that Kendrick and Eminem would smash Drake's God's Plan record with their new releases, you'd be laughed at, and rightfully so. But here we are, and Houdini actually got to 99.9 million in 12 days, which is crazy. Suffice to say, if Kendrick didn't end up bodying Drake during the beef, a 51-year-old rapper would have had the biggest hip-hop debut of all time in the streaming era on Spotify, a rapper from the 90s. And Nicki Minaj fans stay on Megan's neck, as this was met with responses like, "I don't see Megan." And in Eminem's career, Houdini surpassed Godzilla to become his fastest song to hit this milestone on Spotify. And we got more reports from Spotify. Check this out. Eminem is now the rapper with the most monthly listeners on Spotify, overtaking Drake, 80.2 million. He becomes the first rapper to debut in the 90s to surpass 80 million listeners on the platform. And users on Twitter are catching on to the bias in hip-hop media. Watch hip-hop heads ignore him whenever they talk about longevity. You'd often see them bring up numbers when it's time to talk about how Jay-Z has got 14 number one albums, or how Drake's been running the charts for over a decade. But as soon as it is Eminem, the numbers don't matter, and this is used to gaslight the fans who don't pay attention to the hypocrisy at play. And Kendrick is getting credited for halting Drake's momentum in 2024 in reaction to the news. This is crazy, bruh. Drake getting less streams too. Kendrick really had an impact. However, some still maintain the notion Drake is not a rapper. And moving on, before we get to Jelly Roll's comments about performing Sing for the Moment with Eminem that included some rage-inducing comments bound to trigger a certain type of person, we got to see Jay-Z perform a few hours ago at the Hall of Fame ceremony for Tom Brady. Check out some snippets that went viral. And boy, while some were surprised by the crowd, all those people just sitting down while Jay-Z comes on, "What the F?" Perhaps we also spotted 50 Cent's burner account. Who knew Whoopi Goldberg could rap so good? But on a serious note, this Jay-Z performance has now sparked backlash for the rapper, as this went viral. Jay didn't perform at any Hip Hop 50 concerts last year, where the fans would have known every word to his songs, but he makes time to get ignored by rich folks. Shake my head. And of course, this sparked heated debates. Shut up. You know how much it costs for Jay-Z to perform anywhere, laughing my bum off. Certainly not a good point to bring up to defend Jay-Z, since that viral post is set up in a way to call Jay-Z a sellout. But some have blamed Nas for why Jay-Z didn't show up for many of the Hip Hop's 50 performances last year. Ironic you mentioned that. Look into what mass appeal had to do with all those Hip Hop 50 concerts, and then look into what hip hop legend owns mass appeal, and then you'll see why Jay didn't support any of it. Laughing emojis. However, this is also true. Mass appeal was one of many hip-hop entities that hosted Hip Hop 50 events last year, and perhaps we found Dr. Umar's burner account going off on Jay-Z for doing this for Tom Brady. At this stage in the game, having Jay-Z perform at a white man's induction to a white-owned sports league that treats black players like high-paid slave labor with no path to black American descendant ownership is the most demeaning-ish I've ever seen him do. Facepalm emoji. And personally, I think people expect too much from entertainers and businessmen who aren't elected officials. And just like Kendrick, Jay-Z is not your savior. And I'll be looking forward to your thoughts on this one. And speaking on Jay-Z, if you recall, Dame Dash faced backlash recently for making these comments about him.
Future was in that beef, right?
Yeah.
Future said, I'm big pimpin' like Dame Dash.
Hey, I fuck with Future for that.
I heard that whole song was actually about Dame Dash, though.
Big pimpin'? Everything, listen, everything Jay said, he was pretending to be me, yes.
Ooh.
No. Talking about Jay-Z? So you saying he ain't telling his story, he telling your story, you saying?
Duh.
And he was recently on Ugly Money TV, and he was asked about if he is turned off by the claims that he's always talking about Jay-Z. And check out some snippets from the interview.
The turnoff is that no one asked him. And the turnoff is someone will ask me, and then when I answer, they'll be like, he's always talking about him. But the fact is, he's a part of a big part of what y'all want to know that happened in my past. Not many people worked with Jay-Z in that capacity. A lot of people that have been, maybe mistreated by him are scared to speak up on what he did.
Facts.
I'm just not. So if I hit a nigga with a pack, I hit him with some work, and he runs off on me, until I get my money back, I don't care if it's 20 years later, I'm never gonna have too many complimentary things to say about that situation. Yeah, we was cool, but he ran off with 10 birds. And a lot of people that say those things, they've never been in a position of being a person that cuts checks, works this hard, and have had people at that level take them to court. If you haven't been in that position, you don't know what it is. The difference is most people that are in my position aren't so transparent, aren't so honest, don't take the time to personally talk to the culture. A lot of people, after they make money with the culture, they out.
And compared to the last interview, he's not getting piled on this time around for the most part, as some have expanded. It seems it is getting closer to the day he may receive vindication for those who never believed his experiences. However, on the other end, some are wondering. He has never tried simply saying, I don't have anything to say about Jay-Z for once. When he was asked about Jay-Z, he knows the only reason anyone gives him attention is when he talks about Jay-Z. But what are your thoughts? And moving on, we got to hear from Jelly Roll, who performed Sing for the Moment with Eminem in Detroit a few days ago.
Everybody's got their dues and like to pay.
And on the Howard Stern show, he explained how this came about, being that he's a lifelong Eminem fan. Check out some snippets.
Man, it was so cool. Paul Rosenberg came to my Detroit show last year with Trick Trick. And we're all hanging out backstage, and I'm just like, hey, does Marshall even know who I am? He's like, yeah, that's why I'm here, man. Marshall loves you. I want to get y'all together. And I was like, and I'm thinking like, it's just manager. He's just being polite, And he told me that day, he's like, I got something cooking. When it comes, I'll call you. And sure enough, they called about the Detroit thing, and the thing was, hey man, will you come and honor Bob Seger? We know how much of a fan of his you are. You always put him in your top 3. And they wanted me to sing, I think, Hollywood Nights, and I was like, yo, can I sing Turn the Page instead? And they were like, yeah, if we could do this medley. And I was like, let's do the ultimate rock and roll ballad, And then they called back and was like, Eminem wants to know if you would sing a song with him. And I got goosebumps up my body, and I thought right then, I bet it's Sing for the Moment. And I said that on the phone, and they was like, that's exactly what it is. I was like, I'm so in. And I didn't meet him till the day we did it. I met him at rehearsal when we ran through it together, and it just such
Is that
awesome
crazy that you, I would think that would make you nervous.
Man, I was so nervous. It definitely wasn't my best performance. You could see the nerves on my face. This song did a lot for me in dark moments of my life, too. This particular song of his I'm singing, and I'm a lifelong fan. There's not a white kid in the world that didn't grow up listening to Eminem rapping and gave me hope. It was like, there's not enough praises for him. He's inarguably the greatest rapper that ever lived, ever. There's just not an arguable thing. So you're literally meeting the greatest at his craft. The greatest person to ever do that craft you're meeting.
However, this is not all great news for those who were expecting a collaboration on Eminem's new project. A user expanded. Bro, I freaking love this for him. Bad thing is, it confirms no feature on the album if this was their first time meeting. And some still remember. I remember the time Em was on Howard's show. Stern fumbled it back then. LOL. Howard Stern didn't realize he was in the presence of someone who would end up being the GOAT. He thought he was interviewing a flash in the pan. And I'll be looking forward to your thoughts in the comments. And be honest, did you expect Eminem's Houdini to sprint to such success, even to the point of becoming the biggest opening week on YouTube in 2024 and the second biggest opening week of all time for hip-hop on Spotify? Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.